has to be green. Right? All right, here we are.
It's connected. All right, we're good. Thank you.
All right, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd make sure your mics are on, it should be green if you push the button. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Roll call, everyone is present. There's no one absent. Others
Yep.
present, pardon?
We do not have a construction board member. Just so the commissioners know that, we need someone from the construction trades, and it's been hard to locate one that,
Are we down one?
Yeah, that's been a big problem that we've had, is trying to find
Okay.
somebody in.
So reach out to Carbon Builders Association, I think it's Deb Collector, and see if maybe they have a nominee. How about
That's the
that?
problem, though, they have their meeting this night too.
Oh, do they?
That's where we have the problem, because we did have a member who was on that, and he couldn't be at both meetings.
Yeah, he wouldn't come to our meetings,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll at least talk to her. They have a coffee coming up this week or next week, and so I'll speak at that, and I'll look for volunteers. Okay. Yep.
Okay, others present, Diane Straka, Dennis DeMar, Chris Savage, and Dennis Klumper. All right. Where do you want to go with the introductions here? Nothing? Okay. All right, give me a approval of the minutes here, if people want to look them over and see where you stand with it.
I'm good with these minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 11th meeting.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Joan. All right, public comment, Dennis? Nothing? Diane? Nothing? Dennis DeMar?
Well, I'm just, thank you all for allowing me to attend the meeting here. I've not been to the board meetings, and I just thought I would come tonight to answer any questions and just observe. You all know we had hired, the county had hired the Trust for Public Land to do that financing feasibility study. I understand the board reviewed that, and I'm just here if there's any dialogue on that, or any questions on that?
I have one question.
I do have a part on the agenda to talk about that, and I do have an answer for your question.
Okay, as long as you have an answer.
All right,
Good.
so, we had a comment there by Dennis, and maybe you wanna interject with Chris on what was going forward, maybe the two of you can enlighten our minds a little further.
Yeah. Well, Dennis and I were just talking, the county owes coordination for a follow-up meeting to discuss the potential for doing a survey in regards to the receptiveness to the different funding options that were presented in that study. So it's incumbent upon the county to reach back out and schedule that meeting. And again, that meeting's all about the trust and company to help us do a survey of county residents on the potential funding options and the receptiveness of the public to them.
Right. It would be a polling, so that the
Yeah.
draft plan was developed, the county reviewed it, you folks reviewed it. And the next step is for the guys from the Trust for Public Land to, whether it would be Zoom or in person, to make a presentation to the commissioners, just to talk about it in more detail. But the next step is for the commissioners to give us the go-ahead to do the polling, the feedback, the survey, to see the receptiveness by the electorate, to talk about what they see as important, and then with that results, then the Trust for Public Land would present to the commissioners again their recommendation on how to move forward.
Is there any possibility this will be done before, election time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I really expect within, probably in August is when, well, by August, I expect we'll get together and then give the green light for the polling to take place.
Yes, these folks are raring to go.
Yeah.
They've been waiting. And
Yeah, it
they're-
sounded like that at the meeting.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Mhm.
They've done this with 10 other counties in Pennsylvania successfully.
Good.
And they receive funding from foundations to do this.
Mhm.
We are gonna have to come up with some private funding to add to their money for the polling. And I would be working on that with my organization, the Wildlands Conservancy,
Uh-huh.
to try to come up with, I think it's $5,000 of a private match.
Yeah.
Um,
So there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here on this.
Oh, yeah, and whether it would be for this election or the next November, that's the feedback you'll get
Oh.
from these guys
Yeah.
as to the timing of it, based on everything else that's happening politically, you know, what is the best November for this to potentially fly?
So that 5,000 is a private or public match, is it not? I mean, it doesn't matter where you get the 5,000.
Well, it was presented to me as private because,
Mhm.
and I'm not an attorney, and these guys know the rules, the
Yeah.
laws of Pennsylvania. There's a point where it becomes an advocacy thing.
Yeah.
There would be a committee formed of citizens, and in a sense, it has to be separate from government
Mhm.
for this to be like a political initiative. And so I think it has to be private, but I'll confirm that.
Because I think one of the questions we had, and we had some internal discussions recently, we did not know if the initial amount of funds that the county put up was that amount of funding is gone, therefore there was an expectation that for the polling, the county would be asked for a second tranche of funding to support that or not.
And that may be, I'll.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, there's a point though where it has to
Separate?
be separated
Yeah.
from government so that it's an initiative for the electorate.
Anyone else have a question for him?
While we're on this topic, I'll just answer Bobby's question. You did ask me to reach out to the Trust for Public Land to ask about,
That they only identified 800 acres of agricultural to preserve.
yeah, especially on page 16, footnote 14, pretty much how they came up with the figures that they used. And here's the response that they gave me. The information cited in the report came from an analysis done by the Wildland Conservancy. The following is an additional explanation clarification of the calculation. We will be happy to amend the report to include this. Please let us know if there are any comments or concerns with the explanation below. 33,000 acres of land in Carbon County was identified as unprotected and high priority for conservation. The 33,000 acres included the 12 farms totaling 845 acres that have currently been identified by the Carbon County Farmland Preservation Board for protection, but are awaiting funding. These numbers were provided by myself. The National Conservancy and Wildland Conservancy Land Trust Partners applied an estimated average value of $3,000 per acre to purchase parcels and feed sample for conservation. This rough estimation was based off a previous conservation transaction the Land Trust Partners have facilitated in the region. $1,500 per acre was estimated for the cost of the conservation easements using the general guidance of the conservation easement costing half the value of the property. The Land Trust Partners identified parcels that could likely be protected through fee sample acquisition and those that could be protected through conservation easement purchase, then applied an estimated per acre value accordingly. The average cost of the agricultural conservation easement in Carver County was not common knowledge to the Land Trust Partners, but the proposed acreage was negligible in the amount of acres identified for protection. Conservation easement values can vary widely, but typically fall between 40 and 60% of the total value of the property in which the easement is placed. Yeah, so they did get those. Sorry if I wasn't loud enough. So they did get the 845 was based off of how many we had left over that were not preserved yet, based off the applications. It's not really how many farms are out there.
Okay.
So the survey is, it's correct in identifying the 33,000 acres,
Yeah, that's the way I read it, Dennis.
but
Do you see it anywhere different?
there is more than 847 acres. I can go through our valley,
Yeah, well, he just.
right here, right
You
here,
said it's because it's that many farms, that's how.
that's how
That's
many
how
we
many.
have waiting,
Yes,
Right?
in acreage of
That's
what
how-
we have estimated waiting.
waiting. Right. So that's a true estimate of what's out there, the potential to be preserved.
I think he said the 33,000 is
And
the
again,
potential.
If you have in your mind that the ground truth, these figures that it could be more, these are, we have some very smart people at Wildlands Conservancy who can do all this GIS mapping and have all the tax parcel maps, so, and there's a county, recreation and open space plan and a comprehensive plan, so they have all these documents, so this is an intellectual guess, okay, based on the mapping that they have. So, that's how they came up with it. If it's probably more, but, you know, they had like 2 weeks to come up with an estimate, and they did all this online with the GIS mapping, that we have. So, it's not etched in stone. It was an estimate for this plan to come up with an estimate. And that $3,000 an acre, I mean, we as Wildlands, for the last 47 years we've existed, we've protected over 50,000 acres. And it's varied widely. And a lot of it, large tracts of land. I mean, we have 14 preserves. And sometimes we're looking for a new preserve, sometimes we're not. So usually the land we help acquire, if it's adjacent to game lands or Bureau of Forestry lands or state park lands, we flip it to them. Because they're state agencies that have money and staff and can manage it in perpetuity. It costs us a lot of money to do that. We just preserved 50,000 acres at the headwaters of the Lehigh called the Klondike Track. It was an old ice dam, and it's near Gouldsboro, absolutely beautiful. And we flipped it to the Game Commission because it was adjacent to game lands. So, this is an estimate for planning purposes, and I think for me, the bottom line is it, you know, when it talks about needing 87 million, we know we're not gonna come up with 87 million. There is a potential twist I haven't talked to the commissioners about yet with this, just watched the video of the Rescue Act funding and the billions of dollars coming to Pennsylvania and then to the counties and to the municipalities. almost $3 billion is gonna be divvied up to 67 counties in Pennsylvania. So, and I'm sure there's lots of needs, but this is one of them. You know, and I don't wanna I'm not putting anybody on the spot here, but
We've already spent it.
you already figured out where it's going.
All right, $12.2 million, but just got the first 6 million here last week, yeah.
So we don't need to do any polling?
Right.
Matter of fact, I did send out an email hoping that all the municipalities do apply for it and offered assistance, so hopefully all of our municipalities do.
What I understand, it's good, they're gonna be getting a check. And it's gonna be pretty vague as to what they can use it for. And that's why we in the conservation world are pushing, the conservation and outdoor recreation and all the things we've seen just explode with this 15 months of pandemic and the people using parks and trails and things like that. But we know there's infrastructure, there's, Heighton has 100-year-old water lines, you know, there's all sorts of critical needs.
Thank you, Dennis.
Anyone else have comments here you wanna bring up? Very good, Dennis.
Thank you.
Chris? All right, have an update on the funding there, David?
Really nothing changed since the last meeting. If you want me to go over the numbers again, I will, but pretty much, things are the same. We do have some money that needs to be encumbered by the end of the year, but we expect to have that all taken care of with, our next farm that we plan on, doing, since we're ready to go forward with our next one. Okay?
All right. The old business being, Mr. Bordner informs the board that the state board approved the David and Brenda Rex, and they should be getting their settlement sometime in August or early September.
Yeah, we talked about that at the last meeting. Yeah, that's usually the timeline that they say for the date to cut a check.
All right, the new business was, I think we jumped ship there and they already enlightened our minds pretty well on what's going on and what has to be taking place, so. All right. One thing we wanna bring up here is the next farm that is gonna be accepted here for
Well,
the,
One thing for the program guidelines,
pardon?
the program guidelines, you guys asked me to include in our program guidelines language in regard to, that the farmer, if a farm's in the farmland preservation, the farmer is supposed to submit something saying where they wanna build, if they're doing an expansion onto their farm building or adding something like that, and I did include it, and I had conversations with Doug Wolfgang at the state about that. And pretty much what they came back with is that when it comes to a construction expansion of a building for agricultural purpose, the board really had no say of where these structures are located. So really, we can't really restrict anybody on where they want to put a farm building, according to the state board. And a matter of fact, I did ask them straight out what we were looking for, and I told Mr. Wolfgang the board wanted to add language in so that farmers can't build or expand a farm equine structure on a farming soil when there are more desirable areas for it. And he said that actually needs to be omitted from the program language since equine is considered ag production. If anybody wants to see the email correspondence, that's exactly what it came from the state.
Anyone have a comment on that deal?
No.
I
No.
personally don't agree with it, but.
If you're gonna put up a building to put horses in and raise them and for shelter, I have no problem with that. But when you take a 50 or 60 acre tract to put a racetrack in for training, no,
We have that right up here in East Bend.
we know that.
We know that's what we're.
Destroyed the farm.
No.
Prime agricultural ground, throwing a bunch of hay burners around
I
the
can't
racetrack.
believe the state doesn't realize or use common sense. that we're protecting the farms for the prime soils. But to go to the point where they just hodgepodge, let anybody put a building on prime soil instead of lesser soils. I can't believe they don't have the common sense to see that.
Any farm building, we cannot say anything. Now,
I've heard you.
a house, yeah, they have to come to us and say where they want to put it. But if, say, you know, Dick wants to put a farm up anywhere on his property, a barn, he's more than allowed. We can't stop where he puts it or anything like that.
I think all four of us sitting here have common sense not to do that.
But I don't understand why,
Yeah.
like once every other year now, you're taking tours of the farm to make sure nothing changes. And then this would eliminate some of that stuff, you know, that it complies with the program. And now we're saying, don't worry about it. It's like we don't work together with our own program. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone with more common sense than us decides the rules, so, moving on.
Move on.
Are you done, David?
Yeah, that was it. That was just to be brought up that I'll make the changes and submit them to the date so that our program fully up to speed. And then once that's done, I'll make sure that I give each of you guys a copy of the new ones with the proper language and everything in, so we all have the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the farm to be accepted for the next round. We did all the paperwork on it, and the Bond Farm came out on top of the pile. The second farm is the Clinsford Farm. The third farm would be Miller's, and fourth farm would be Rizzo.
It was actually Dagenhart. Dagenhart that moved.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
tend to be corrected on that one.
Yeah, we have a score for every farm, so every application that's submitted is fully ranked, and has a spot. Obviously, though, before we go for next ranking, we'll review all of them over again, and it could change based off of different scenarios, because you know some people get different water and sewer. Sometimes we have people put ASAs in next to a property, that changes the scores. There's all kinds of different factors that could change it. So.
All right, could I have a motion from the board here to accept Kenny Bones Farm as the next one going through the program?
I'll make a motion to accept the Kenny Bond Farm, Penn Forest Township.
Second?
I'll second.
Second by John. All right, so we also have a motion for, to use Carbon Notaries to do the paperwork and stuff on them.
I think it's Andrea's appraisal.
Pardon?
Andrea's appraisal.
And the appraisal.
Yeah.
Just so we could move forward as we go through it.
We have to do the appraisal.
Carbon Notary is the one we've been using all the way
Oh,
through.
okay,
Connie,
okay. All right. I make a motion to, have the appraisal done on the Kenny Bond Farm by Carbon Notary.
no. No.
Let me clear it up real quick. Carbon Notary is our title search company.
Okay.
That's the one that we usually use.
That's-
Andrea's appraisal is the company that we usually use to get the appraisal services. So,
I amend that motion to use Andre's appraisal for the appraisal and Carbon Notary for the legal work.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Daniel. Basically all I have. Any
Yeah.
correspondence from your office?
yeah, one correspondent, but one thing with the title search, we won't do that till after we
Title
get into the thing. But we could do the motion right now. We know that that's who we're going with then. And one correspondent that I wanted to bring up was Matthew George Farm. He asked me if it was possible for let me make sure I read this right. He was wondering if a solar farm is allowed to be built on a preserved farm, and I double checked with the state on that, and the what they sent back was solar is permitted on a preserved farm if the energy is primary for use on the farm. However, any commercial solar is currently not permitted to be on a preserved farm. So if somebody wants to take part of their farm and make it for commercial solar, they can't do it. But if they do have, like, want to put up a couple panels so that they could, to run their barn or something else that they use on the property, that would be permittable. It was just something that I figured the board would like to know for future reference and stuff like that.
So anything extra that the farm would use is considered commercial and is not permitted.
Eligible, yes.
So you cannot make a profit off, if you take your whole barn and throw solar panels on top of every barn, you can't do that on a preserved farm.
I don't think so, no. From the way that reads here, yeah, that would not be acceptable.
So if you put enough there to run your operation, that's what you're allowed.
Yep.
That's the way it should be.
Yes.
One little dumb question from me is, if you only have a small basis for the panels to run the dairy barns or the house or whatever, is there any kind of storage facility for the overrun? Or no, they have to go into the grid?
No, you can, my understanding,
Anybody got an
no,
answer?
no, just hold on a minute. My understanding that the battery backup systems that they're developing right now have the capacity to store, that they can use it at night, because you ain't generating at night. But you say about a dairy?
No, I mean.
I'm just
dairy
saying,
barn
okay,
or
yeah,
farm
okay,
house or
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Well, they have a way, the battery storage systems are evolving. So I would imagine they would be able to, yeah.
Question. I know if it goes into the commercial grid, then
Right.
it sticks right there.
That it's gone.
Yeah, right. Anybody else have a comment on that?
Basically, that
Why are you laughing,
No,
Dennis?
I'm laughing because if you had an electric tractor, you could plug in.
What?
Yeah.
and basically that just right now with the rule is that could change. They could come out with a new law and with some flexibility on that, but as of right now, that's the rule.
All right. Anything else from anyone here? Dennis, Luke?
I heard Richard Graber's farm, the fruit farm is for sale, so you have to watch what goes on there, that has to be served, isn't it?
Well, so was my pops,
Yeah.
the Newton farm, Adams, that's for sale again too.
Who? Newton?
The racetrack.
It was Newton, bought it for my dad.
Yeah.
Newton sold it to Adams, Newton has it again.
Oh, really?
Jenny, well, what is Birdsall? She married Jim Birdsall, so it's Virginia. Birdsall now forced him for sheriff's sale. She owns the farm again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a weaved.
Were you aware of this?
No, nothing, no paperwork
you
was
just
sent
were.
to me.
You,
No paperwork
Well,
was
is it-
forwarded to me at this time, no.
So what happens when a farm gets sold?
Usually, who's ever doing the writing up the deed, they're supposed to send me like some sort of information that the farm's been sold. Now, I will end up getting that information when I go for my inspection every 2 years. I did do a partial inspection during COVID. We had a little bit of problem. I couldn't get out on the road to view them, but I did get all the paperwork out, as you know, Dick and John probably knows, because they sent it back to me and Dennis. So I did get to go over some of them. Usually, if there is any change, it's included in that. But mostly, a lot of the who's ever doing like the title search or the attorneys, they usually do get in contact with me when there's a change in ownership. And that one, obviously, I never.
that one was done, they had to go to court over it, and Little brewer. He wasn't, he didn't, I don't know what happened there totally, but he packed up and loaded everything and left. He left and sent her the keys in the mail.
Well, I heard
Brewer
that,
Adams did.
that had happened either in Maryland or Delaware before, at the one farm that he
This
had
is
done.
what I heard out also. He let one fly in Delaware also. So it's a reputatious thing he does. So she had to go, take him to court and foreclose on him because she held the mortgage to get it back, get his name off the deed. She owns it now, and now she has it up for sale again.
Okay.
So she owns the big mess that's there.
She has that nightmare.
Or, exactly.
It's horrible. It is. I know that for a fact. I just drive it there. I live next to it. It's a mess.
Yeah.
But to expand on what David was saying, 2 years ago, I don't know how many years ago, we also put, when the farm goes into preservation, you put a red flag on the deed at the courthouse, and when the attorneys go in there, see the red flag, they know they can't play games with it. So,
Yeah,
so
that,
I'm sure you're aware of that too.
yeah, there's always language that's supposed to be in every deed that's written that said that it has to follow the agricultural easement.
Right, right.
So,
There's no monkey shines being pulled, supposedly.
That happened when Dwayne Delegar took care of our meetings, director. I had asked where I could put buildings, and he found the worst ground on that farm. After I told him it was a shell head, that's where I wanted to put them. He said it's the perfect place where you put those barns. It was nothing but heavy shale, nothing grew on it.
Yeah. Well, see, that was like almost a mimicking thing as to what they were doing in Lehigh County. If, like say Chris wanted to put a home or a building on a preserved farm, they came in, the board came in and said, look, that's prime farmland, this is secondary loose, like you're saying,
Yeah.
trailhead, that's where you put the building. We don't have that in our program. And we can't put it in there, according to what you had told me earlier, right?
well, on a
The state said we
home,
can't direct.
on a home, we could say what they can and can't
A
do.
home, yeah, but regular buildings.
Regular farm building, anything related to agriculture, no.
Yeah,
And that
it's-
includes
it's
equine.
The same example here is on my dad's farm there, which is, Adams had it and Newton had it. They took the best farmland and dug down 30 feet down and brought that overburden up and built this 15-acre tract. 15 acres of ground is destroyed, and then that seems acceptable, and they did it with the horse barn too. They took the flattest part up on top of the hill, and they built this $1 million barn. Was that acceptable? They cut it down into the shale head, nothing will ever grow there, ever. The barn burned down now.
Really?
Well, that barn down, it burned what, is it 3 years now?
Oh, wow.
3 years.
I know there was a big stink when I was over taking pictures of you.
Oh yeah, you and I were,
Yeah, we were over
he was
there.
ready to throw us off.
Yeah.
Even after I farm it too, he was ready to
Yeah.
throw me off the farm.
I still have the pictures if anybody wants to see them. I mean, there were gullies here 20 feet deep, all the way down to the creek.
Yeah, you should see it now. That track that he built, there's ditches every couple feet, it's eroded, it's gonna level itself off. That's how bad it's getting.
All right.
Anyhow, who's in play on the Graver farm? Do you have any idea, Dennis?
I don't know, but I just heard rumors it's for
I,
sale.
I know it's up for sale.
Right,
I know it's up for sale. The kids are fighting.
yeah.
Yeah, the kids are fighting.
Well, I did
The
get a,
old scenario, the parents die and they'll fight over what's left.
Who's getting what?
I did get a phone call from, I think it's a realtor, what she is, but she was asking a lot of questions about what she can and can't do with the Graver farm. And pretty much, I don't think she liked my answers because I kind of told her she can't really do much with it. She did find one spot though that probably wasn't in ag preservation, and she did send me a picture of it. I gotta review it. She didn't send it to me till the end of the day today. But if it's not part of our track, think she could do whatever she wants with it. It's not none of our business. And I even sent her our subdivision guidelines and explained to her that if you're going to subdivide part of that property, it can only be for the owner, immediate family member, or somebody who's working on the farm. That is the only way you could subdivide the one resident off. And once that's done, it's done.
It's done, yeah.
It's gone. You can never do it ever again.
That's
So,
sort of a mess there, because when we put that in, they had the gas line going through the property, they had the high tension line cutting it. It's truly a mess. Where's this piece of property that they didn't put in?
I think it's up on the. I think where you had the cattle and stuff, but up on the left-hand side. Like I said, I have to take a look at the map again that I had her send me of what piece of the land it was. But it was like up on the back, like one of the back corners or something that they didn't put in.
Like the northeast corner,
That's what I'm thinking.
over towards the shady camp?
Maybe. I'll have to take a look,
Is it
Dick, and get back to you on that.
Say that? But I had heard they were trying to buy some of it too, like Dennis is saying.
The impression I got was they were trying to split it up some way that they could, build a couple of houses on it and sell the land as like broken up parcels, and kind of shot that down on her and told her that that's not possible.
Somebody wanted to do that with my dad's, they were interested in it, and they wanted to keep 15, 20 acres and the house and the barn and sell, and they didn't want the land.
Yeah.
And that can't happen with a preserve farm, can it?
No.
No.
That's what I'm,
Anyone else have any more comments? If not, we move for adjournment
I'll
at
make that-
7:38. Have
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second it.